welcome our blood viewers to RTD's News English edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with the major and top highlights of tonight's news. Let's watch. High-level delegation from South Sudan left Djibouti. And on the international scene in USA, visit of the Ministry of Education to New York. And also we got opening of the 77th United Nations General Assembly, UN. Those were our major top highlights. Welcome back to our resume, our beloved viewers. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Ghadir Kamil Mohammed, received a late afternoon for a farewell visit the representatives of the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, which is also known in short as FAO in Djibouti. Mr. Pressing Chagane Dadamano, the UN official, thanked the Prime Minister for the welcome and support he received during his tenure in Djibouti. The meeting took place in the Hall of Honor of the Primacy, and this in the presence of the Minister of Agriculture, Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Awale, and the head of the cabinet of the Primacy, Mr. Ali Sillay Abdullah. This farewell visit of the FAO representative in Djibouti marks the end of his service on the Djiboutian soil. After Djibouti, he will be the representative of the United Nations System for Food and Agriculture in Burundi. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdul Ghadir Kamil Mohammed, praised the remarkable work during his mission in Djibouti. The high-level South Sudanese delegation led by the Vice President of Sudan, Mr. Taban Dengai, including several members of the South Sudanese government, including the Ministers of Communication, Transport, Equipment and Road Maintenance, left the capital this morning. On their departure to Djibouti, the Vice President of South Sudan and his delegation were greeted by the Minister of Communication in charge of Posts and Telecommunications, Mr. Radwan Abdullahi Bahdon, and his colleague of Infrastructure and Equipment, Mr. Hassan Ahmed Ibrahim. During their working stay in Djibouti, the South Sudanese delegation has the telecommunications facilitated, including the data center in Haramuz. Agreements were signed, including the promotion of connectivity between the two countries, port infrastructure, and the revival of the Djibouti-Addis Ababa-Juba Kampala corridor project. South Sudan, a landlocked country located in Northeast Africa, intends to intensify its trade with the Republic of Djibouti, the region's commercial hub. The high-level delegation ended the first day of its working visit with a visit to the headquarters of the President of the Authority of Ports and Free Zones of Djibouti, located at PK 23. The members of the South Sudanese delegation were welcomed on their arrival at the site by the chairman, Mr. Obakar Umar Hadi, who immediately afterwards had a first head-to-head with the South Sudanese vice president. Discussions focused on the progress of the ongoing project of refinery and pipeline between Djibouti and South Sudan, especially via the industrial complex of the Marjouk. The chairman of Djibouti Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Obakar Umar Hadi, and the Minister of Transport of South Sudan then signed a memorandum of understanding on the construction and development of 6 tributary ports. Note that there are already 2 corridors, Djibouti, Addis, Juba, Kampala, and Djibouti, Gambela, Malaka. It should be remembered in passing that the company South Sudan Reference and a petrochemicals company, Rebeco, has recently established in the Djibouti International Free Trade Zone. Repeco owns a 1.3 hectare plot of land that will allow it to store materials as well as other products destined for the processing and extraction of oil before their transportation by air or land to South Sudan. The free zone, connected to the main ports of Djibouti, is intended to diversify the Djiboutian economy and attract investment, allowing foreign companies to be exempted from taxes and benefit from quality logistical support. Finally, the delegation had the opportunity to visit our port infrastructure, including the Dorali Multipurpose Port, the management company of the Dorali Container Terminal, the Demerjog Oil Jetty, and Djibouti International Free Trade Zone. The Minister of Transport of South Sudan, after his visit, spoke to the press. He said that this visit was a real success. Djibouti and these port facilities will meet the needs and serve our country, he said. As for the chairman of the Ports and Free Zones Authority, Mr. Obakar Umar Hadi, he appreciated the visit. Let's listen.
See you for a long time. And we are very happy to again get together on business cultural and to have transactions, because we believe South Sudan is a very rich country. Everything that God created on terms of minerals, resources are in South Sudan. So we are very happy that you are looking to the east and you are looking to the Djibouti for your export and imports, and I can guarantee you that we have the best services in this region. When you see this container terminal, get in, get out, 57 minutes. 57 minutes. 7 minutes. Truck in, truck out. Truck in, discharging 2 containers. Truck out, loading 2. So we are there for you. Welcome back home.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this railway, we hope with the help of our Ethiopian brothers, South Sudan, we can take to the Atlantic.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm now with my friend Abu Bakr, who is actually the president of the free zone of port of Djibouti. We are now here in a railway loading station, which is actually one of the biggest here in the region. And we came here with a high delegation led by Vice President General Taban Dengai, who is also the Vice President for Infrastructure Cluster. We came here officially to see into the facility, which actually we in South Sudan, we are interested actually to use this port of Djibouti, which is actually have a very big capacity that will actually accommodate all the transport, all the export and import goods from the all over the world through Djibouti, port of Djibouti to South Sudan via Ethiopia. The port is actually very big, and port of Djibouti actually is the nearest port to South Sudan.
The Sheraton Hotel hosted today in the late morning a signing ceremony of 3 grant contracts concerning the European Union program in support of Djiboutian civil society known by the acronym PASOK. At this meeting, 3 grant contracts were signed with the following civil society organizations, in this case the Association Peace and Milk, and the Research Institute Eureka, the Association EVA and SOS Sahel, and finally the Association Sunnat al-Haya, the Proncet Evangelical Church of Djibouti. These associations have responded to the themes that have been selected. Water and sanitation, climate change, food security, and vulnerability are the priorities. This ceremony was chaired by the Minister of Economy and Finance and Mr. Elias Musa Dawali in the presence of the Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Nuh Hassan, the Minister of Social Affairs and Solidarity, Mrs. Ulufa Ismail Abdo, and finally the Minister Delegate in charge of Digital Economy and Innovation, Mrs. Mariam Hamadou Ali, and finally the Mayor of the city, Mr. Saeed Dawood. The European Union was represented by its Head of Affairs, Mr. Fabric Brazil, accompanied by the Head of Cooperation. The objective of this grant is to support the instruction of a limited number of civil society initiatives aimed at increasing the participation of civil society organizations in multi-actor dialogue on public policies with a focus on the priority sector of cooperation with the European Union. The Minister of Interior, Mr. Saeed Nuh Hassan, has in his speech congratulated the associations, further added that this will allow them to play a role, allowing them to take part in public life and development of the country. In the same vein, the Minister of Finance and Economy, Mr. Elias Musa Dawali, stressed in his speech the importance and the leading role that civil society plays and these priorities actions that increase development. As an extension of its social support programs, the Diwan of Zakat organized yesterday in the Great Hall of the Palace a ceremony dedicated to the distribution of the first tranche of a sponsorship for orphans of the year 2022 under the high patronage of the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Waqfs, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Bari. This ceremony was attended by the Minister of Interior, Trade and Industrialization, as well as the Chairman of the Board of Directors and the Director General of the Foundation, as well as representatives of the main sponsors of civilian and military institutions. During the event, these contributions were distributed to about 1,160 orphans in the city of Djibouti. Note that this gesture comes after the distribution of these seasonal contributions during the past week to orphan children in the interior, especially in the region of Dakhil, Ali Sibih, and Arta. Created at the initiative of the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, in 2004, the Diwan of Zakat has been implementing the project of sponsorship for orphans since 2007, with the aim of supporting and helping the important segment of society, namely orphans. The ceremony was crowned by a series of speeches, including the speech of the representative of the big sponsors and the chairman of the board of directors of Diwan al-Zakat, where they emphasized the tireless efforts made by the Diwan in order to meet the needs of the orphans, who are considered as one of the most vulnerable groups in society. The two officials took the opportunity to urge merchants and wealthy people to contribute to the project of sponsoring orphans in accordance with the directives of the Prophet, peace and blessings be of Allah be upon him. For his part, the Director General of Diwan al-Zakat, Mr. Suleiman Hussein Musa, stressed the tangible importance of this tranche of sponsorship of orphans, which comes under complex global humanitarian conditions due to high prices and the spread of poverty rates worldwide. And for his part, the Minister of Muslim Affairs and Waqf, Mr. Mu'min Hassan Berry, stressed that the care of orphans has become one of the duties of all those who have the ability to participate in this humanitarian initiative, which is part of the social policy set by His Excellency the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, to strengthen the spirit of solidarity and empathy between different segments of our society. As part of the Summit on Education Transformation held in New York City, the Djibouti delegation, headed by the Ministry of National Education and Vocational Training, actively participated in the work of the Solutions Day on September 17. This day is dedicated to sharing and launching initiatives of solutions of transformation of education. The delegation first participated in the panel on education financing. All the speakers highlighted the efforts made by the states and insisted on the need to double the efforts to ensure that funding for education is increased. In the panel entitled Education in Crisis Situations, a Partnership for Transformation Actions for the Benefit of Learners, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees praised Djibouti's efforts to provide schooling for refugee children and praised the approach adopted. The Ministry of National Education later spoke on panel that his department co-organized with the Qatar Ministry of Education and Higher Education. The panel was about an initiative on contextualizing education for a sustainable future and the launch of a new digital learning platform called Rashkesh to connect educators and learners to local institutions and give students and keys to understand the world and play an active and responsible role as citizens and actors. The aim is to raise students' awareness of world issues and prepare them for the world of work. The Minister of National Education and Training, Mr. Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, then participated in discussions organized by ALESCO with the aim of finding solutions together to facilitate access to education, opportunities offered by new technologies, the issue of climate change, and to instill in students. From September 13 to 15, 2022, Colonel Wa'es Omar Boghori, commander of the Djiboutian Coast Guard, and Colonel Ahmed Daher Jama', commander of the National Navy, took part in the regional alumni symposium held at the Naval War College located in Newport, Rhode Island in the United States of America. This important reunion was an opportunity to warm reunion between former graduates or alumni of the prestigious institution. Moving on, an important Djibouti delegation led by Mr. Umar Abdi Said, Minister of Labor in charge of Formalization and Social Protection, took part in the 48th session of the Arab Labor Conference held from 18 to 24 September in Cairo. Organized under the high patronage of His Excellency Mr. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, the 48th session of the Arab Labor Conference was opened by the Director General of the Arab Labor Organization, Mr. Faiz al-Muteri. On the silence of the conference, the Minister of Labor in charge of Formalization and Social Protection, Umar Abdi Said, had a meeting with the Director General of the Arab Labor Organization. The Minister of Labor first congratulated the Director General for his outstanding election to a third term. Then the Minister of Labor and Director General have discussed topics of common interest, such as the strengthening of cooperation. Still in the news, the Community Development Center of Piki 12 hosted yesterday morning an awareness action undertaken by the Director General of Population and Family in close collaboration with the NEC. The director of the Community Development Center and local elected officials of Balbala participated in the sensitization of the population of the large district of BK12, especially women and youth. They were for the direction of the population and the family to raise awareness on the withdrawal of the new biometric card. The Djibouti expert of UNIS, Mr. Ikram Ibrahim, took the floor to explain the objective of this action. Under the high patronage of the Prime Minister, the Ministry of Interior launched the National Week of Identity in the capital and in the interior regions. Following the example of the capital, the Director General of Population and Family has sent a mobile team in the interior regions for the awareness caravan on the importance of identity, and this action is part of the National Week of Identity. It is in this perspective that the caravan of the awareness on identity began this warning workshop on the importance of identity in the region of unity. During the workshops, the local officials and all the participants had the right to a projection on the difference between the old national identity and the obtaining the new biometric identity card. The team of the Director General of Population and Family also synthesized public opinion on the importance of having a legal statute to which the state can refer to. Still on a working visit, the Regional Director of FIDA for North Africa, the Near East and Europe, Mrs. Neda Saleh, accompanied by a strong delegation from the Ministry of Agriculture, as well as the Director of FIDA in Djibouti, Mrs. Rasha Omar, and the collaborators went yesterday to the Unity region. Upon her arrival, the Regional Director of FIDA was received by the Deputy Prefect of Dakhil, Mr. Idris Hussein, with a strong delegation, which they discussed the objective of her visit, as well as the sectoral development projects carried out by FIDA in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture. Then the Regional Director of the FIDA and the combined delegation went to the Regional Council of Dakhil, where she met with the acting president, Mr. Ibrahim Goro Abdullah, and the leaders of the associative structures of the region. Within the framework of the actions of fight against the contraband, the soldiers of the military of Holhol intercepted yesterday a huge quantity of more than 18 kilograms of khat of contraband. Indeed, it is 21 packages, each containing more than 120 tubs of khat, from where not stamped merchandise of a value of nearly 2 million of our francs. According to the standard procedure in forts, this quantity was transmitted to the customs brigade and destroyed on the spot in the presence of the Chief of Customs of Brigade of PK-20 and PK-51, in this case Mr. Farah Abdi. On the occasion of the handing over of the seizure to the National Customs, Chief Doctor of Executive of the Military School indicated that in spite of the busy agenda in the training of the military, the soldiers of the school have always been a leading and relentless fight against the illicit trade. We have sadly learned the death of Aisha Galili Ghalib a few days ago. The deceased was born in 1947 in Tajorra. She was the mother of 13 children and 15 grandchildren. She was among the LPAE by her dedication to the struggle of her independence. She was a fervent activist of the RPP, being among the active pioneer women of RPP Annex of Section 7. She was known for her integrity and her unfailing love for her fellow men. In these painful circumstances, we express our deepest condolence and our sincere sympathy to the whole family of the deceased. In this painful ordeal, the divine well-being unstoppable, important to the Almighty, to welcome her in His holy mercy in His vast paradise, and to grant patience and comfort to her family. And the General Secretary of the party, the President of the Annex of District 7, Mr. Muhammad Kayad, sends his sincere condolence to the family of the deceased. Inna lillah. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, Antonio Guterres opened the 77th United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday with a bleak picture of growing peril and the world paralyzed and powerless to address it. Let's follow.
Antonio Guterres opened 77 United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday with a bleak picture of growing peril on world paralyzed and powerless to address it. The international community is not ready or willing to address the great dramatic challenge of our time, Guterres said. The Secretary General listed a long list of disasters that are hitting the world: the war in Ukraine, the climate crisis, the economic emergency that is overwhelming the development world, and the spread of nationalism and extremism, to name a few. But the reality is that we live in a world where the logic of cooperation and dialogue is the only way forward, Guterres argued. No single power or group can make the decision. No major global challenge can be solved by a coalition of the willing. We need a global coalition 2009. The General Assembly President in this spirit recalled that the General Assembly will hold a high-level meeting this Wednesday, September 21, marking the 30th anniversary of the Declaration on the Rights of Persons belonging to a national or ethnic, religious, and linguistic minorities.
Well, by this, our beloved viewers, we finally conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Thank you.